I don't have it off the top of my head, but I know one of the biggest drop was really when at the peak when it dropped. That was one of the biggest volumes.
Hi guys, welcome back. Today I have Chi Keng coming on board and we'll answer together a few questions for you. The first is, are we seeing skepticism or optimism from the Alibaba community? The second question will be, how are latest figures for Alibaba's operations? And last but not least, the third question is regarding Ant Financial's possible IPO. So without further ado, let's welcome Chi Keng.
Hi everyone. Happy to be back again. I think it's my third time here.
The reason I invited Chi Keng is because Chi Keng is the China expert. And we know, China has been moving a bit, getting a lot of trader attention. Chi Keng, come on, you're well known as a China expert already.
I don't dare claim that title, but yeah, I do follow the news from time to time, and it seems like the volatility in maybe the US market and crypto specifically, it's not as interesting compared to before. And
the volume is
Chinese
increasing,
stocks,
right? For China tech trading, at least
average volume is increasing by the day, and it seems like the increasing because traders like volatility, right? So the increase 5%, tomorrow down 10%, and tomorrow up 10% again. So that's why there's this increase.
Were there any periods of increment previously in this whole bear run, or is this the biggest volume spike? Have you seen data?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but I know one of the biggest drop was really when at the peak when it dropped. That was one of the biggest volume when it started.
When it crashed.
When it went down from 320 to around 250, give or take. That part, the volume was quite great. And then I think it just plateaued down already. And then recently the volume started picking up again.
So this could be the highest volume in like 6 months or a year even, trading activity wise.
I can't speak for sure for all Chinese companies, but I think because I only specifically follow Alibaba, I think the two bigger periods are this period and the period where Alibaba trade down to $70, and then there was this huge spike in that part where Liu He came out to say that
China uninvestable.
It was during that same period, right? Yeah, JP Morgan said. Then it went down even lower the next day, and then the second day, Liu He came out to speak, and then boom, everybody went up again. Like I think it was from $70 odd the lowest, it went up to 100 plus again. So that $30 increment was one of the biggest spikes, if I remember correctly.
Okay. For anyone who hasn't seen Chi Keng's channel, I'll leave his links below. And on Chi Keng's channel, you'll find everything on Alibaba and China tech. So that's why this first question for you.
Right.
In your community, right, are you seeing more optimism, or is this rarely up because we've seen it move up over the last few weeks? Are they viewing it with skepticism? What was the intelligence on the ground?
The ideas or the discussions are still quite fragmented. There are people that just thinks that, it's a probably another bounce and then we'll drift back lower again. And there are also people that suddenly, I believe, especially in the FinTweet committee, because I do see a lot of people saying that, we're going back to 150 again because Alibaba is moving. But really, this idea of a price chart dictating the narrative rather than what nobody can. I think at least in the Chinese big tech space, nobody really cares about the fundamentals of the company anymore. I think everybody can agree that valuations are depressed for a pretty long time. And even if we were to run your own DCF or whatever valuation model, some of the parts, even if you give a 2%, 3% growth rate for the next 5 years, the current valuation probably is not justifiable. So I think the concern is really more on big tech regulations, how the government is pushing down, and how is it going to severely impair the business model moving forward. So the more qualitative concerns about this big question mark. And as we know, the stock market don't like uncertainty, and that's why there is this valuation. But I think circling back to the question on optimism or skepticism, I think it's break even. There are people that are still probably very skeptical about this rally. There are also people that are quite optimistic that the $70 odd the other time was kind of the bottom for Chinese tech.
I'm more in line with that could very well, on hindsight, be that absolute bottom that we're all waiting for so long. And I've also shared on the channel that it's true. At this moment in the bear market, operation numbers you can throw it out window already. Cost is confirmed cheap. The problem is overcoming that concern of risk of it becoming zero due to that risk. Correct?
Right. Yeah.
Totally then also, agree. In terms of my perspective, is actually at the start of a recovery phase, it's actually good to have skeptics still. Because if we see everybody on board, that's usually not the end of the the bottom. So
Right.
I'm also glad to hear that there are some tired bulls. Maybe you can
Right.
label them that way. They've been
Right.
burned so many times or given so many fake outs that they are so tired of, being disappointed again.
I mean, if based on the time of this recording, I think Alibaba is down again in Hong Kong, back to 10 something. But I think based on technical charts, there are a lot of people that say that they finally broke out of that downtrend, that very strong resistance line from 320. You just plot one line down. You know that Alibaba essentially didn't break out of that entire downtrend. But I think one more key consideration the other time somebody was speaking about is because we know, at least in the YouTube space, everybody is calling for inflation, recession, whatever. But I would just like to probably point out that I think the cycle between the different market, right, also is in operations here. So if you were really want to say that, is the China market gonna come out of a bear market earlier than the US market? I don't know. I'm not gonna make a speculation here as well. But they do operate in different cycles. I think that's just to put it out there. And I do agree that if there's a huge amount of inflation concerns, recession concerns, China tech will probably have a soft cap. But that being said, every dog has its day. So I just want to put it out there that maybe we will be able to come out of the quote unquote bear market earlier than their US counterparts.
I actually saw a video that you did recently on 3 types of Alibaba investor. If I recall correctly, the first type is those that have diamond handed all the way down from the peak, correct? Then the second, someone who bought someone in the middle, or what is your narrative on that?
Okay, yeah, right. So the 3 sharing, right? It was really a culmination of everybody that I saw, both in my Discord, on my YouTube channel, and I just wanted to give a very quick breakdown for people that are interested because this topic actually came out in my Discord. So I think the first type of investor was the ones that tried to bargain hunt when Alibaba dropped by around 30 to 50%. So at a peak at 320, so if you take a 30% discount, that's around 200. So a lot of people that probably bought in around 200 to 250. So that's the first group of people. They bought in and they didn't average down because they're scared of all the different risks. But at the same time, they also didn't sell because they just, whatever.
Then the position wouldn't be too big, right? For these people, so they kind of have a small position and I can't be bothered with it. They are now onto something else really.
So the second part of the second type of investor is those that probably started as well in the same range, but they started averaging down and down and down. So for that second part of people, they will usually probably have a range or a buying cost price of around 120 to around 150 to 160. So that's the second part. Then the third part is really those that bargain hunted and just wait, and then they started buying at the lows of sub 100. So I will probably deem them as more, I will call them hot money. If hot money essentially just means that they are trying to come in for some quick gains and see that, hey, there's a lot of volatility now, and they just come in. There are speculators there, there are traders there. There are also people that waited for so long and then they just come in recently only. But I have a great deal of skepticism there because a lot of people are afraid when it was 100 plus. So I don't see why they suddenly, because it's cheaper, then they're gonna sit in for the long run for Chinese tech as well. I'm quite skeptical. So this group of people will probably exit when they make a handsome profit of maybe 30-50%. Then they can just sell already. In a way, that's my read of the situation now.
I think you're correct. I straddle between second and third category, I think.
Right.
I don't know if you see, I bought some Baba positions purely for a trading perspective. I'm not going to write out lah.
Right. I saw the video as well. I think you probably consider yourself, because you do have a core Chinese tech position.
Oh yes,
that's more diversified.
Correct.
Right. Correct.
Yeah. So this is the trading position. I always suggest we need to differentiate the approach. Right. If not, we conceal trading as investing, then it doesn't work out that way. If you're trading, you have to follow your trading hypothesis or what you're looking out for. Then if you're investing, then you set a long-term plan, then you follow through.
Right.
So that trading part, I will dispose. I think that's pretty obvious. I also don't want to FOMO audiences too much.
Right.
So I just give a hint on what I've done. Whether they like it or not, they decide for themselves, that kind of thing. Back on the point of Baba, because Baba has done their 4th quarter earnings, correct?
Right. They just recently reported.
Although operation numbers are not too crucial, in my opinion, in recovering from bear, because they are definitely cheap. Anything interesting that has been developing on Alibaba's performance that we cannot keep abreast?
Maybe if I can just give a quick summary, probably in less than 3 minutes. I'll just point out a few good points and a few bad points of the earnings, then just provide some perspective lah. I think at least on the bearish side, on the bad quarters, right? Quarterly earnings came in at 9%. It was not good, not bad. It was nowhere near all the different big tech companies in US. They 20-30% because it was a great run for them. But I think considering the macro environment, I don't think they did too shabby. If we really do a horizontal analysis based on like the three big e-commerce companies, JD and Pinduoduo. JD did 18%, Pinduoduo did 7%, Alibaba right smack in the middle at 9%. So, but let's not forget that Alibaba is kind of the biggest out of the three, and they had a bigger base. So I wouldn't say that it's particularly bad, but it's nothing spectacular as well.
So there's some
I think
impact
EPS,
from COVID. Is that a fair assessment?
I think for COVID specifically, it's a very nuanced situation because COVID really came in only at the end of March. So that first quarter, right, from Jan to March, largely speaking, you can say that there's an impact, but I would probably think of it as it's not very huge amount of impact. I think Q2 is a lot more worse.
Which means the next quarter would still see some dampening on performance.
Yeah, it's gonna be even softer if I can just project outwards. Yeah, it's gonna be even softer. But I think street consensus now is so bad that likewise Alibaba posting a 9% year-on-year growth. The price I think shoot up like 10-15% the next day, which is pretty interesting. But I think that's the differences between expected versus reality, right? So if your expectation is so bad, whatever nonsense result comes out, they will still beat top line, beat bottom line.
Anything that Daniel Zhang, CEO, has shared that's interesting?
I think specifically for both Daniel and Toby, right? Both of them has a very core focus in optimizing cost structure and the heavy capex that they're gonna do. So they're just guiding towards telling people that, hey, we know that the situation is bad. We know that China is bad. We're gonna start cutting a lot of our fats. We're gonna start trimming a lot of our unnecessary investments that we think don't create value in long term. And then they also guided in a lot of heavy capex for logistics and cloud as well. So those are, from what I can see, I read the earnings call report as well. That they have been there's a lot of focus in these two discussions.
Logistics, what are they cutting back on? I've seen the cloud is profitable now, but logistics.
I think they are cutting back in terms of the separate investments. So the normal weird media investments, the different long shot or moonshot investments that they're doing. So they are really just concretizing and just aggregating a lot of their investments back into their core businesses. So that's just the general tone.
Cloud and logistics.
Cloud and logistics, correct. This three.
Okay, anyway, that's in line with CCP's, I don't know, general overview, right? Don't monopolize everything or create.
Right. I think also at the end of the day, kind of found back the idea of just creating value and don't think about the profits first. So they just want to keep I won't use the word monopolize because it's a very sensitive word, but trying to provide greater value proposition. I think in that way, if you think about it from that perspective. But speaking about cloud though, I think the interesting thing was Ali Cloud, their revenue grew by around 12%. It was on the softer side, definitely, if you compare to your Amazon, Microsoft, Google counterparts. But if you look at it and their competitors, right? So the next two biggest one is Tencent and Baidu. Tencent, they don't provide a breakdown of their cloud. They lump their cloud and finance arm together. But that segment grew 10% and Baidu grew 35%. So here comes the question. Why Tencent and Ali Cloud grow by so soft? Like the numbers are on the softer side, but Baidu grew like 35%, and that's like 3x the amount. Of course, one common discussion is, hey, Baidu is of a much smaller base. Baidu only has like 8-9% of the market share. Then Ali Cloud and Tencent each has 20-30%. But I think the bigger issue is probably for Baidu, right? They have their own internal arm. I don't know whether you know their Apollo arm, which is the self-driving, the FSD portion of the business. I think there is a lot of self-feeding back into the system. So they are consuming on their own and they're taking on a lot of their own quote-unquote market share. So I think for Baidu specifically, the business itself complements each other, which is why they can probably sustain this high amount of growth moving forward.
You mean internal sales to Apollo side?
Right.
If I hear it correctly.
Yeah, correct. That's my guess.
Point, you can't use internal sales to live.
But I think they just started. That's the good part. Yeah. So in terms of Baidu Cloud, it was really quite I guess in the community itself, everybody was quite surprised that Baidu actually grew by 35%, given that currently cloud adoption is quite slowed down because even though we're talking about the US having recession now, right? In China, they are already experiencing a little drawdown in terms of consumer sentiments, in terms of people spending, and
I think we don't see the GDP numbers because those are always they put cosmetics to it.
Right.
So
right.
if we see it from logic and on the ground, right, consumption rate, I think it's quite obvious it's low. Or the wealth effect has drawn down because prices in property have fallen, right?
Right.
So wealth effect.
Totally agree.
Then it also ties in with Ant Financial, which is associate company already.
Right.
And you know, they're doing services in Singapore. Anything about their listing that you've discovered reading material?
The listing was quite funny, you know. I think there was in one of the days last week when before it was during pre-market, right? There was this rumor suddenly from Bloomberg, Reuters saying that an IPO suddenly got approval. Then just after that rumor, instantly the stock went up by like 10, was it? I think 10% of the market cap went up. Or it was a delta of 10% because it was at first negative 5%, then it suddenly went up 5%. So that was the range of 10%, right? And I was just tweeting the other time as well. 10% of $320 billion, that's a $32 billion liquid cash moving around, just trying to play the thing. So I would believe that a lot of the algos right now in whatever hedge funds out there, they're all playing all these different news. And once the news comes in, they'll just click and just buy it up and push the stock price.
But you don't need 32 billion to move it up, because if the supply is not that big, to move it up doesn't take 32 billion. On that point on how much to move it, right? Because it's based on supply and demand. If the supply is only 500 million, you move it up, consuming that 500 million liquid shares there, you can already present an enterprise value of 3+ billion.
I get what you mean, but I'm just saying because it's true. I think especially in the pre-market activity, right, there are very little liquidity in the entire market. But I'm just saying based on the huge company market cap, right, they're playing the whole Chinese tech companies very intensely in that entire basket of equities. But I think back to the rumors on that thing, right? It's dispelled. I think dispelled by both the regulators. I think and themselves also didn't really make a public position. They just say that they're just trying and they'll see how they can. They're still trying to rectify with their relationship or rectify a lot of the mechanisms within the
compliance issues that they're supposed to do.
But likewise, I think at least I saw a post recently. I think there's this Chinese idiom, right? 无风不起浪. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate whether something is in the pipeline, but there are speculations on whether it's true or not. Personally, I think it's not so soon. I'm not expecting anything at least in this year. The earliest it will happen probably in 2023. But
I think market is weak also. I don't know if it's such a good idea to list it now. Now the valuation that you can get
it's probably extremely bad.
30% off what your original IPO.
It might be more than 30% below, because I think initially when they wanted to go IPO at the start before the crackdown, it was a crazy valuation. I think it was valued around 200-300 billion for Ant subsidiary. And okay, let's not also. I mean, I'm not going to hide anything. It's true that I think Ant has been running a monopoly in China based on whatever I've studied. And looking at how they've been conducting the business, it is a monopoly, which is why it gave the market ascribed such a huge valuation. But also because it was a private valuation, so numbers can be blown up in the air for whatever reasons, that is financial or non-financial. But I think back to doing public issuance, right, and just going IPO, I don't think it's so soon. And like you said, I don't think the ascribed value will be as high as previously. Maybe it might not even hit 100 billion now. So that's more than 50% drawdown. Yeah.
And back at that point of time, I was also running for that IPO, suggesting it to private clients and stuff. And it was oversubscribed, from what I remember correctly.
Right.
So it's crazy. In IPO, you need to get the market timing right. Then you get over demand. Then you can bump it up to the bigger end of the range.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Now it's not the best time. But Ant Financial is doing the wholesale banking in Singapore already. So I think that's.
I saw them. I think the name is called Anex or something.
Hey, you can find job with them.
It's quite a small team actually.
Really?
I think it's quite a small team. I went to connect because I wanted to do an interview with them. I haven't reached out yet, but it's probably a plan in my mind that I want to talk to some of the people if they want to accept. No, if they want to accept the
you show them your loyalty, and maybe they don't like Alibaba. That's the worst. You show them your loyalty. Wow, hey, really? they're hiring
Right.
aggressively. At least that's what's reported.
I mean, I'm more interested in understanding the business first and how they're positioning themselves. Yeah, but it's purely for research purposes. But yeah, it's an interesting idea. I will play with it, or I'll see how it can.
Just be brave. Ask them for a job opportunity. Hope you have benefited from this discussion. As always, leave your questions and comments in the sections below. And if you like topics on Chinese tech investments, smash the subscribe, because whenever there's new information, I'll share them with you over here. And with that, I'd like to say a big thank you for watching to here. Check out some of my previous tutorials, and I'll see you in a future video. Take care again, and goodbye.